button.
What?
Now I pushed the right button.
What?
That
Wake me up when
explains the
Sleepaway
sirens.
Camp ends. Wake me up when it's over.
It never ends. Never.
I know. I still got 2 more movies to watch.
3.
No, he already
2.
watched 3.
1.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome to the Tomb of the Terrible. I am your long-suffering host, Uncle NecRo, and with me tonight, I have the usual gang from the Owlite Network, Delphine, Friday and Chaos. Friday's invisible for some odd reason, Dr. Raz and Ron. And tonight, through some fluke or luck of the draw, we are watching we watched Sleepaway Camp 2, 1 week after watching Sleepaway Camp. And this is subtitled Unhappy Campers. Angela is back, now a young adult and looking suspiciously like Bruce Springsteen's sister Pamela, obviously reliving her glory days as a camper. See what I did there? She's now a camp counselor. She is now a camp counselor for a bunch of late 20-something actors pretending to be teenagers, upholding the rules of the camp to the very jot and tittle of the letter. And if the rambunctious campers get out of line, well, I think you can put the rest together yourself. So, indeed. Some little fun facts here. Written by Fritz Gordon, directed by Michael A. Simpson, no relation. Released in August 26th of 1988 on a very limited theatrical run. And then it was stuck on video 2 months afterwards. This was also released as Nightmare Vacation 2 in the UK with over 2 minutes of scenes cut from it, simply because of the Video Recordings Acts from 1984. I also want to point out, simply because I'm into the music, on the soundtrack we have Straight Between the Eyes by Anvil, instant club hit You'll Dance to Anything by the Dead Milkmen, The Girls Are Out Tonight by Hurricane, and Desperate to Survive by Obsession. So mostly we get Enigma Records bands, which would explain having a Poison album sighting, along with a Flotsam and Jetsam album near the end. And sadly, there was no curling iron in this movie. So this seems to... I first saw this about 20 years ago. Raz mentioned that about the box set that came in a medical kit. And I had that, all of them in that particular kit. And I remember watching this and being in a lot of pain, but that was 20 years ago, and we'll get to my initial thoughts after rewatching later. But
And you're still
speaking
in a
of
lot of
initial
pain.
I'm always in a lot of pain. I mean, it's a movie I had to gnaw my foot off just to get away from. We'll go with start with the initial thoughts. We'll go with Del.
Initial thoughts are I shouldn't have thought to be funny and put this on the wheel. It was a movie. It did explore themes of death. There was a lot of there were some things I enjoyed in this one. It didn't sit as bad with me as the last one did, even though I wouldn't say it was a much better movie. It didn't try to be a much better movie either. So that's part of where I'm like, okay, I mean, as long as it admits that it isn't trying to be, anything more than it is, it's just a sequel to a B movie, then okay, I can dig it. Yeah, it was a campy camper movie.
Yeah. Okay. Friday, initial thoughts?
Not as bad as I was expecting, and they tried to see how many times they could show one person's chest. And you could take
Right.
shots to it. So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I was wondering, especially at the beginning, if they knew how shirts worked, because they took a very long time putting it on. So, Chaos, what are your initial thoughts?
Oddly enough, I have I'm in two separate minds of this movie. In one aspect, some aspects of this movie, it wasn't bad. But in others, it was holy crap. I'll get more in depth into that when we get closer to the rating system.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. All right. I just now thought we need that sound clip from Family Guy where Chris is going, boobies, boobies, and because that's what this movie essentially is.
Yeah.
With the script, we need
We
boobs.
have
This is
such sights to show you.
right. Raz, what were your initial thoughts? I'm presuming you've seen this many times.
Oh yeah, tons of times. Before I tell you my thoughts, I just want to say real quick. Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the summer sun. I love the trees and forest. I'm always having fun. Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the clear blue sky. And with the grace of God, I'll camp until I die. And we did. And we did camp until we all died. No,
So
this
spoilers.
movie has a very special place in my heart because of the cover. The original cover for this was one of the most famous things about it, and it's why everybody rented it back in the day from the video store. It was literally a cover with a girl going back to camp. She's got a backpack on, and there's a Freddy glove hanging out of the backpack, like it's hanging out of it, and a Jason mask sticking up out of the top of it. So, like, they were leaning into the 80s slasher thing really hard, and seeing that iconography on the cover was like, fuck. The first one was weird, but are they spoofing? What are they doing now? So, like, we had to rent it. Like, we just had to rent it and see it. And what I remember most about the first time I watched this movie was my cousin Michael, who like introduced me to B movies along with my mom. It's got 3 Bs. Everything that makes a B movie. It's got blood, boobs, and bad acting. That, my friends, is what a B movie stands for, like traditionally, and a long time ago. And it has all those things. And to me, this movie is hilarious. Like, I die laughing when I watch this one. The first one was a little awkward, and it was an interesting, cool movie. But to me, this one was the real comedy breakaway. So this is like if Meatballs 2 were a horror film. That's what this is.
Okay. Yeah, that tracks. So, Ron, what were your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts, somehow I ended up subjecting myself to this movie twice. Not really wanting to, but I watched the third movie after watching the second one, and then realized that I could not remember the second one because both of the movies are so interchangeable, it's hard to tell them apart. The third movie is basically the same movie, just with a different haircut.
Well, I think that may have something to do with the fact that both of these were filmed back to back in 1987.
But I did not dislike the movie as much as I thought I would. It's the kind of movie that once you get over it the first time, then it sort of grows on you. And I think I'm probably with Raz on this one, that it's a kind of movie that has rewatchability just because it has a lot of good schlock in it.
I agree.
Okay. My initial thoughts were, like I said, the last time I saw this was about 20 years ago. This time around, I don't remember any camp I've been to being this much of a horn dog party. So
Didn't go to band camp, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember the mullets.
Sorry.
I do remember the mullets. And how many mullets did everybody count? I lost count at around 7.
Well, TC had the nicest one.
Yeah, that was a well coiffed.
He was
Mullet.
Captain Mullet.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So now I do have to ask a specific scene. How does one lose a Freddy glove? And related fun fact, Dell and I, okay, but Dell and I had a high school classmate that was actually constructing his own Freddy knife glove using steak knives, but his father put a stop to it when he found out what he was doing. That was kind of fun. But
How do you lose the Freddy glove? Ask a proctologist.
Ew. Okay, so there's a mental image I'm going to need some mental floss for. Thank you. I guess I should have asked on the offset, how many people was this your first time watching the movie? Okay. And is Friday raising her hand? We can't see her.
Yeah, we can't see her at all. Okay.
Oh, here it is.
Invisible.
So,
It's the green.
Yeah.
okay. Fair enough.
That my arm disappeared.
Yep.
So,
I was hoping if I
yeah.
and you a little more, you pop back in the frame.
So Raz, how many times have you seen this altogether? Do you remember?
Oh my God, more than 20. I promise you. Like, this was Sleepaway Camp was one of those series you could throw on, have some drinks, smoke a lot of weed, trip some balls, and just have it on the background and chill and like just look and laugh constantly. Like, this and the Evil Dead franchise probably got played more at parties and hangouts than anything else.
Right. When was the first time you saw it?
First time I saw it. Oh God! First time I saw this one was the actual day it was released on VHS. The first time I have to look that up. The day it came into to the rental store, the clerk held it for us.
I see.
We had an arrangement for certain movies. We'd heard about this one before it came out, and yeah, he was a really cool guy, man.
So when you said things back in the day where I have to go see my dealer, it was your video store guy.
I mean, yeah, more or less, because the video store was right down the street from the library, and my mom had a deal worked out for me in both places. Like, I know he's the kid, but here's my information on file. Here's here's the home phone number. I give him permission to get anything he wants because he's responsible. And I would just talk to him, and people would hold books and movies back for me all the time, man. I was a good kid. I'd actually help clean up, and I would help do things at the library and the video store. So, like, they never really had a problem with it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh my
See,
God,
for me,
so good.
Yeah, I was helpful. I'm very helpful to my community. Damn it.
that's the way we ought to be. I mean, the horror community is a great community. They think we're all Satan worshipers, but no, we're a family. But for me, I remember seeing the original released VHS box at the Applause Video in Fremont back when I was in junior high, and I was thinking I should watch this because I too was intrigued by the cover, utilizing the Freddy glove and the hockey mask, but I never really got around to it until much, much later in life. So we're going to move on now to what we liked about the movie. We'll see how much we can squeeze through this turnip. Starting with Dell. Deep breaths.
Okay, I did like the shout outs to the other slasher movies. That was like, okay, cool, you're acknowledging that. I was confused about the pool instead of a lake at a camp, but I think the entire point of it was so that they could have the one, if you throw me in this pool, after she takes her shirt off, or her bikini top off, so that her shirt will do the wet t-shirt contest thing, I'm gonna kill you. And then she like tries to jump in and then be able to swim immediately over and flash her boobies at people who don't actually look at them then. But I don't know that was clever, really. Just for the sake of boobs. But what else did I like? I should think about this before I come on the show. I just watched it earlier. I've had a really shitty day today, so it's been like super busy.
This was like the cherry on top, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did like the whole. Oh, I sent them home. Oh, sent them home too. Oh, sorry, I had to send them home. And the fact that she never actually knows how to sing Kumbaya all the way. It never finishes. So yeah, that kind of amused me. She like they're hugging outside the door and getting ready for a kiss, and there's just this Kumbaya. Yet she never sings the last fucking line. It's like shaving a haircut, and I'm just wanting to two-bit it, and it just keeps going back around. So
Okay.
And the list of things that were missing. The panty raid scene. I don't. Do people actually do that, or is that just something in books and movies?
It was in like every 80s like type of movie like that ever. Porky's, Meatballs, there's Revenge of the Nerd. Like
yeah,
it was
but
a
I
thing.
mean, in movies though. But I mean, is that something people ever do in real life? Actually,
From my understanding, it was bigger in like the mid to late 70s than anything else, and just kind of carried it and died out in the 80s when inappropriateness was finally deemed ecologist. Because I once wondered that as well with research.
I wonder if cocaine had something to do with it too.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sex became more commonplace in the 80s than it was in the 70s. I think it actually originated in the late 60s, but like it just got really popular to do panty raids in the 70s. People were more sex starved back then. But if you think about how advertising changed and how sex sold everything from the 70s going into the 80s, it was more available, so people stopped caring about, oh, I get to look at someone's panties, because now I can just look at boobs everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
True.
Yeah, sorry. Just something I've always wondered, and this gave me an opportunity to bring it up.
Yeah. So, all right.
Contemplating panty raids.
Contemplating panty raids, the Uncle NecRo story. But moving on to Friday, what was it you liked about this movie?
First, let's read Pyle's. The part with her in the car. Are you looking for a gun to kill me? No, just the drill. Enjoyed that part very much. So it was nice, a nice little twist.
Twist. I see what you did there.
I like the whole I sent her home. She kept sending them home. And home ended up being the final home. The different ways she killed people.
Yeah.
And yeah, generally that.
Okay.
I had fun in the movie.
Okay.
I love how the owl is right dead center in Chaos's forehead right now.
It's like a headpiece. That's what it looks like.
Right.
Oh yeah, mine is right next to Jenny's head.
You are Owlbear.
Speaking of chaos, what was your likable things about this movie?
What I like about the movie, trying to figure out how to describe it.
Well, he's thinking. Then it got better because the next part was all the pieces on all the parts that were missing. The drill was on that along with the car battery.
And the car battery does come into play later on.
Yes.
I liked some of the methods of death, even though they weren't as really scary at all. Well, technically, the first one wasn't either, but
Yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, fair enough.
My brain's drawing a blank at the moment.
That's okay. If
Would you say your brain is fried, eh?
Only on days that end in Y.
it happens. Sometimes I can't get the darn chainsaw to start either. Yeah.
We've all been there.
Right?
Yeah. So, Raz, what did you like about this movie?
The acting, specifically her acting. Say what you want about a B movie, but when it comes to actually feeling like someone's fucking nuts, I'm sorry, only one person had truly reached that level of insanity in film, and that was back in 1973 with Annabelle Wienick and Don't Look in the Basement. Like, this performance was exactly what it should have been. It was the character performance. It was so well done that half the time I don't even care what the fuck's going on. I'm literally just watching her and all the batshit crazy stuff she does, because the acting in this movie is it's a B movie. You don't expect anything out of it, but to see her performance and really pay attention to it, and it's not just this. It's the look on her face. It's her movements. It's every aspect of how she's playing crazy. She's her and that character from Don't Look in the Basement. Those are the two characters and scenes that I pull up to train people in the asylum section of my haunt with. No joke. Like, this was an amazing performance for her. This was one of the most solid and believable B characters ever performed. Maybe not written, but performed, because she definitely outperformed the script that she was given. And that, to me, is the real takeaway of this movie, that characterization.
Yeah. Okay. So
Definitely agree.
yeah, definitely agree with that. But Ron, what did you like about this movie?
What I like most about this movie is the fact that they solidified Angela's character a bit more than what they did in the first movie, where they saved the twist until the end, and it felt like it was contrived. I think I said in the last episode that the twist was contrived, like they were tacking it on the end just because they needed a twist. And oh, well, here's a good twist, but there's not really much clues or storyline or anything that would explain that. And then you kind of have to go back and rewatch the movie to figure out, okay, well, I guess that makes sense a little bit. But in this one, the movie was a lot more coherent than the first one. I felt like the writing was better overall with the storyline. It was a lot more coherent than the first movie. And they set up a backstory for Angela to make the character a little bit more concrete. So now you know she's had the full-on sex change. She's now fully female. You know who the killer is straight from the beginning. There's no question about it. So it's just a matter of what's the creative way that she's going to come up with to kill the person this time. And I am with Raz on the acting, or with Pamela Springsteen's acting for this character. She's perfect for the role because she is so incredibly deadpan. Very rarely shows emotion, and when she does, it's not like true emotion, like she's just affecting it for that particular situation. And she even tries to pull off a couple of one-liners, whether they're funny or not. She just delivers everything with such deadpan that you can see that, you know, she's completely sociopathic. What they don't really explain much, and even after watching the third one, there's still no explanation, is why she felt compelled to kill in the first place. No explanation is given in the first movie. No explanation is given in the second, why she felt compelled to kill. And there's no explanation in the third either. She's just completely devoid of emotion and sociopathic. So she's a killer of opportunity, and she doesn't put a lot of thought into anything. She's just has this skewed set of morals. Morally, she thinks that she's in the right, but then she's killing everybody. So what would that be, like chaotic good or neutral evil or something? I don't even know.
She's chaotic evil for sure.
Chaotic evil?
Yeah, she does explain her motives actually early on. She wants everybody to have the best camp experience ever, and anyone who tarnishes the camp reputation and experience for other campers needs to die.
Yeah, but why? Why is she so dead set and gung ho on that?
It's psychotic focus. No reason. We don't need to know, kind of a thing. Just it's what it is.
I know. So that's what I mean. They never actually explain her mentality behind it, but it just goes along with her whole deadpan character, and she acts it perfectly.
All right. So, moving on here, what I liked here is I do have to admit that Pamela Springsteen, I do agree that her crazy is a very infectious crazy in this movie. She's no Felicia Rose. However, she wasn't trying to be Felicia Rose. So, and at least everybody was acting like this, you know, this is just a cheap horror flick, a cheap sequel to a slasher. Let's have some fun here. Now, giving this a rewatch after 20 years, this does have that kind of cheesy charm with the over the top acting in the script. And the kills are rather interesting. Give them that. Very interesting. I do like the scene where, for whatever reason, they had the campers come through the building blindfolded and doing that whole, these are witches' and she's just, these are campers' brains.
Dead teenage
What's really
brains.
in there?
Dead teenage brains.
So,
I like that. I thought that was a very funny scene. And it happens so quickly that it's very easy to miss.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was right after the whole drill scene. So
you guys have that
Yeah.
as kids, like around Halloween time, where you put your hands in it and it was like liver and like cooked spaghetti and like peeled grapes and
Yeah.
stuff? I guess what it is, and they would tell you it was brains and intestines. That's
Oh, we
That shit
did that in Haunt.
In 1984, I was part of a gymnastics group, and on Halloween they had a haunted house thing in the gymnasium, and they had that in the darkened room. I'm like, this is so cool. But then I went back in when they turned on the lights and we're kind of finished for the night, and it lost the magic.
Oh yeah,
I
my
have
mom
to-
used that for us every Halloween for years, even though we already knew what it was. We just did it.
Yeah.
Well, and then
So-
you read The Halloween Game by Ray Bradbury and go,
Yeah.
well, fuck.
That is a good one.
Man, I got to read Ray Bradbury more.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, it's one of his
Let's,
best
move-
stories ever.
Really?
That's
Sorry.
something
Okay.
with your favorites, yeah.
I'll have to make a notation of that. But let's move on to what we didn't like about this movie. I'm sure we all have thoughts upon that too. Starting with Del.
We'll do Pyle's last one here. I think she portrayed the character very well and had a lot of creative kills this movie. Almost every camper died in a different way.
Yes, they did.
Okay. Didn't likes were I thought and this is just kind of a me thing for all of the 80s movies, just too many boobs. It was just over the top on that. I don't know.
But they're
Because we're
Or-
supposed to be seeing this as they're teenagers. And yeah, and like the, like, oh, just riding the guy and all this stuff. It was just kind of like, wow, okay. That's something that, is on HBO that kids are going to be watching and stuff. Okay. And I mean, you can't control what they're watching anyway, but I also didn't think when they were in this is something that bothers me in a lot of movies or TV shows. When somebody's dead and they do the close up on them and they're obviously breathing. And it's like, dude, you only have to hold it for like 10 or 15 seconds. That, they can do a couple of shots and just edit out. So you just get the ones where they aren't breathing. That should be easy to do. But it was like the only two people who were obviously dead were the ones that were burnt to a crisp. Well, and the one that was obviously not even a human. It was just a dummy with the face melted off, So that was that's just a little thing to bother me. It's a B movie. It shouldn't bother me, but
Right.
it annoyed me a bit, I guess. Otherwise, I'm kind of ambivalent about this movie. There wasn't a lot that I loved. There wasn't a lot that I hated. There were some things I liked. There were some things I disliked, but overall, meh.
Okay. Friday, what didn't you like about this movie?
Other than the obvious breathing scenes, not really anything. It's one of those. I didn't hate it.
Okay. All right. Chaos. What about you?
The one scene that pops into my mind that kind of gave me a headache was the bathroom makeout scene where he's literally dragging her across the floor to the bathroom stall. And she's like, I can't get my feet under me. Shit. What the hell?
And what I was waiting for her to say, that's my belly button.
Wrong hole.
Yeah. So
It was so retarded.
that did look awkward. I mean, was there anything else that?
Oh, I have cramps.
Oh, okay.
You had cramps last week.
Yeah.
Family thing.
Right. So, Raz, was there anything about this movie you didn't like?
Oh, we could have used some more boobs. No,
Agreed.
no, young me, that was when I got to see boobs. That was it. I got to see boobs in movies because I was allowed to watch any movies that I wanted. So there was no covering of the eyes, just the movie. It was a normal thing. Like mom didn't make a big deal of it because she thought if she made a big deal about it, it would, cause more issues. It didn't matter whether she would have made a deal or not. It was still a big deal to me. So I very much, child me very much appreciated it. Now I have different standards, maybe not as much, because I'm a little more picky these days. There's a lot out there on the internet, there's a lot to look at. But no, like for real, like there wasn't really a lot I disliked about this movie. This is not a 10-star movie for me, obviously. But at the time, the film history of this is movies didn't sell without boobs. And this isn't me joking around. You couldn't get B movies greenlit with studios without a certain percentage of nudity. And this still existed all the way into like the mid-aughts. Like where literally small indie films would not get the green light, and they would give you a percentage of nudity that you needed to reach. When we did slashers, we had to include nudity that we had no intention of having in the movie because it would not be picked up by the distributor unless we added it. And this is the thing a lot of small productions face that people out there don't know about. And back in the 80s, it was even more hardcore. Actually, 80s and 90s was really bad about it because horror was not a big genre. Slashers were cool, but even with Freddy and Jason and Sleepaway Camp and all these things, horror was not a big genre until later in the 90s. That's the reality there. It just wasn't. So you had to give people boobs and sets and stupid shit to get people to come and watch it. And it's the people that have the disposable income, the teens, early 20-aughts, that are going to pay for this. And what do they want? They want nudity and drugs and etc. So that was the entire industry's frame of mind, and it still is to some degree, but we've gotten away from that, and we've grown a lot, thankfully, in the industry. But it's hard because that was something that overshadowed a lot of movies like this one, just overdoing it. And they did overdo it. Dell's right, they did overdo it. But they had to. They really were not given a choice. And the other thing about this was the budget, because it was tied into the first movie where they filmed them back to back. You could tell that this was just what was left over of the budget from the first one. And there's a number of scenes in the sets and things where you can see that, and it hurts. I feel like there's a lot of other shots or different things they could have done to hide a lot of their lack of budget. Because the first one felt like it had a budget. Even the look of the film looked like it had a budget. The editing, it had a budget. This one just felt leftover. But in a lot of ways, I thought this was better. I thought the sequel is one of those rare times where it was actually better than the first one. In a lot of ways. It suffered from people not thinking about how to hide certain aspects of them not having enough money to make a movie. And that's the one drawback that I have when I watch it.
Yeah. And also, none of the movies here had milkshake tattooed on them.
I know. What a letdown.
Yeah. You have to wait until the third movie for that. So, what didn't you like about this movie?
There were a lot of, for me, I felt like there were a lot of awkward scenes in this movie that they didn't quite fit, or they felt like they were thrown in because they needed to pad runtime or something like that. The first one that comes to mind is the girl that's supposed to be painting, and then she just like knocks over the paint and she's screaming. She's like, "I want to go home! I want to go home! I hate this place!" And okay, why? What is it that you hate about this place? Why do you want to go home? It seems so completely random, but then they show her getting in a car and then drives off. So she should consider herself lucky because she probably survived the onslaught of all of the murder that happened after the fact. But it felt like it was such a forced scene and completely unnecessary. The movie could have survived without that whole scene. And getting back to what Chaos said with the whole making out in the bathroom, and then later on there is a sex scene in the woods where the girl is riding the guy. You know, I'm 52 years old. I've seen a lot of sex in a lot of movies. Sometimes it's done tastefully. Sometimes it's not so good, but this just, it felt forced and awkward. Like I don't know anything about these actors, so I don't know whether or not, you know, they're virgins, but if they're supposed to be playing teenagers that probably are virgins, then maybe that could explain the awkwardness of it, because they don't really know what they're doing. But just the whole thing, it felt forced and awkward, and maybe it's just bad acting on their part because they think that's what a sex scene is supposed to look like. I don't know. But you watch movies like Friday the 13th and you get the same kind of sex scenes, but they never feel awkward or forced. That they are part of the movie and it has to happen because, you know, that is a trigger for Jason wanting to kill people, you know. And this one, it's she's got morals, yeah, but she'll kill anybody for any freaking reason that goes against her morals. It's not just sex, you know. So I think they could have done those particular scenes a little bit better, in my opinion, to make them fit in with the movie a little bit more so they didn't feel so awkward. Also, the girl that she kills with a guitar string, she's like looking around the room, see if she can find an appropriate weapon, all that, and then she just pulls a string off the guitar. I can tell you as a guitarist, it is not that easy to pull a damn guitar string off of a guitar just like that. Okay? It's not that easy. And she just pluck and pulls it right off. But then a couple of seconds later, another girl comes into the room and she pulls a knife off of her hip and starts stabbing the girl. Why didn't she just use the knife in the first place instead of yanking a guitar string off the guitar? That made no sense to me whatsoever, which made me question, why is she looking for all these creative ways to kill people when she already has a killing weapon on her hip throughout pretty much the entire movie? And she had it in the first movie as well. I mean, you would think that if she's going to be serial, if she has a method, she would always just revert back to her knife and stab people, cut their throats, whatever. But she's looking for different ways to kill people, which makes me wonder what exactly is her psychosis that, you know, she likes the different creative ways of killing people. And it's not like the punishment fits the crime. You know, you burn two bodies, you want to get high, you know, we're going to burn you. And she kills the Schultz sisters by burning them, I guess. And it's somewhat related to them getting high, but they don't all die in manners that are fitting to what their actual crime was. And I felt like that's something they could have explored a little bit more, of making the way that they die somewhat fit their transgression. You know, like the girl in the car, she pulls out the electric screwdriver or the drill and, you know, goes to town. And only because the girl wanted to get screwed.
But she wanted to get drilled.
She wanted to get drilled. So she got drilled. You know, it's these kinds of things I think that they could have explored a little bit more. And also, this is my last point. Since this is the second movie, I feel like they should have doubled down with the gore a little bit more and shown a lot more of the blood and gore and the carnage and the corpses, instead of just, you know, showing the blood splatter, but nothing really happening to the people themselves. They should have doubled down and gone in on it. You know, it's already rated R. You might as well go ahead and go all out. But, I mean, maybe they didn't have the budget for it. I don't know. But I would have liked for them to have doubled down on the gore a little bit more and actually shown much more graphic scenes. But that's just me. I don't know.
Oh, well, to build on a couple of things that Ron just said. One, the sex scene, I would have to agree. It seemed awkward, but it looked more painful than anything, the way they were acting it out. And when she stood up, I kind of did a riff thing where it's like, next time I'll take my panties off. So, I don't know. But yeah, Angela was serial. She was super serial.
Super serial.
Nobody else was serial. She had to be serial. She had to do it. But
The rest of
as
her
far,
oatmeal.
right, as far as what I didn't like, the biggest no-no to this is that 90% of the movie was shot in the daylight. It added absolutely nothing to the atmosphere. It diminished any kind of suspense or scares. I don't know if it was a choice thing for doing that, but yeah, it was in the daylight. I don't know why they did that, but aside from that, you could pretty much guess every plot point coming from about 12 parsecs away, and sometimes the basic humor and the one-liners just kind of grinded on me after a while. So those were my two biggest gripes about this movie here. So
we are talking about Sleepaway Camp 2.
yes,
Responding to the comment that just popped up.
yeah, I know.
Oh,
Hey, Kenny.
So yes,
and
that did kind of sound like you were just realizing right now what we were talking about. So,
Oh shit, where am I? What? I'm sorry, I must have fell asleep for this movie. What are we talking about? Who died?
was there
wait,
anything else you can add to this? I'm bringing up the 5-star reviews right now. Slow-mo
Pyle
video
said when
told-
she was
Oh yeah, that's another thing I forgot to
Yeah.
mention that struck me as awkward and forced, and like they put it in to pad time. If she's really a sociopath and she's devoid of emotion, I can't imagine that she would have bad dreams like that to begin with, unless she's feeling pressure and thinking maybe she's going to get caught. But that's never explained, so I don't understand why they had that scene in there. The movie would have been fine without it.
Yeah.
Hi.
I think, by the way, that the reason, and it was too drawn out, I agree with you there. The I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to fucking go home scene. It was only put in for the sake of her then being able to say, "Oh, I sent them home." Because obviously, look, this person really did get to go home. Everybody witnessed that. So then she can say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I just sent them home too." And then when the other girl figures out, and this was the other, and I might be trying to put, I might be overthinking this, but I think she
You
was
are.
going for the guitar string so that she didn't make a mess in the cabin with blood. And then when the other girl came in, she was just like, "Oh shit, now I
Yeah.
got to make a mess."
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
and things like
possible.
she choked her out in like 2 seconds. They beat the one guy, at least some of the times when they'd like hit him with a stick like 3 times, and I was like, they aren't dead, are they? Because they really have to go to town a little bit more than that and be like, okay, they just knocked him unconscious by hitting him in the back. But okay.
Yeah. So, okay, I do have the. You were going to say? I'm sorry.
Nope. I was gonna say go ahead and let's hear those
Okay,
reviews.
Well, I have the 5-star reviews up, but first I wanted to go about and pay some bills here first, get that out of the way. And so let's go ahead and roll the thing, and we'll be right back.
In just a second.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Redoctopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Redoctopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Octopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
And welcome back. Aren't those just fun products that you should check out? So anyway, we have the 5-star reviews, but first I believe Chaos had something to say here.
Yes, it was about one of the things Ron brought up about her having so many just different random killing methods. I know this isn't what they were trying to go for in the movie, but a lot of times with sociopathic serial killers, they'll experiment trying to find what fits for them early on. So they will go through a random gambit of different murder and hiding methods, see which either feels right to them or which one they can get away with the most. And then they'll actually start building their signature from there.
That's a good point.
But as I said, I know that's not what they were going for in these movies, but
I mean, maybe they were.
Kind of make sense.
You'd be surprised how many writers, like when they're writing scripts and you get these B movies, actually had these crazy complex thoughts when they were writing it. And these are the answers they'll give you during panels. But then they'll say, yeah, that's what I intended. But, you know, it's a B movie. But it's really hard to know. Like, that could have totally been what they were going for.
Well, we explained, we discussed in the last episode that she's a killer of opportunity, that she doesn't seem to have one set specific method for killing, or a specific style, that she's a killer of opportunity. And I think that that's the kind of thing that's probably not going to evolve with her as a killer. She will always be a killer of opportunity and just do what feels right in the moment. And I think that speaks a lot to her mentality.
Yeah, I am a little disappointed in you guys for the last episode, because there was an obvious song reference you guys could have made for the ending of that movie. It's the South Park Wiener Wiener song, and I felt really sad that no one sang Wiener Wiener at the end of the episode. I just, just personally, I was let down.
Well, Wiener. But okay, so hello. But right now, we like to give our ratings, but before we do that, we like to go online and read what some other people might have thought about this movie, doing the 5-star reviews on Amazon. We're going to start with Heather B. Jones. Entertaining sequel to one of the greatest slasher movies of all time. When I put this DVD in, I wasn't really expecting much. All I expected was a crappy sequel to a really great film, since a lot of slasher sequels aren't that good. Well, I was pleasantly surprised because what I got was a highly enjoyable late 80s horror cheese fest that all fans of corny slasher flicks can appreciate. And then she goes on and rides a virtual novella about all the points. So, all right. So Bratton423 writes, darkly entertaining sequel with a twisted edge. Sleepaway Camp 2 Unhappy Campers takes a horror franchise in a new direction while retaining its darkly entertaining spirit. The sequel delivers a blend of suspense, humor, and creative kills that fans of the original will appreciate. So, yeah. Lucy says, this is an older comedy horror. It is what it is. She gave 5 stars, so okay. And we'll end with Adam, a cult favorite for a reason. In Sleepaway Camp 2, Angela returns this time posing as a camp counselor at a camp near the camp where the original murders took place. This time around, she speaks way more and is not liked by anybody. And everyone she feels needs a lesson taught gets theirs. Very cool death scenes, including an outhouse kill, which will make you want to throw up. The best sequel in the series, in my opinion, and certainly my favorite. All right, then. It is what it is. So, all right. So, getting to our own personal reviews of this, out of 10, what would you give this, Del, and would you recommend this to others?
There was one more point that I thought of when we were going around. When they ask, how did you even get hired here? She says, with all of the letters of recommendations from the doctors that released me from the hospital that thought I was okay. So apparently the psychiatrist thought it was a good idea to send her back to camp.
Apparently.
Just saying.
I mean, camp is supposed to be therapeutic for people, if you think about it. It's supposed to be.
And they gave her a guitar.
Well, I did bring that up in chat.
Yeah, we talked about that, yeah.
Okay. But I probably wouldn't recommend this to people unless they'd already suffered through the first one, because it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to watch the second one. I mean, if you have nothing better to do, sure, like you were saying, it's a background movie to have on. I'll give it a 4.5. I can't quite get a 5, but I got to give it a little bit more than what I gave the first one. So,
okay,
which was a 3. So yeah, or no, it was a 2. It's a 3, something like that. But yeah, so I'll say 4.5, and not really recommending it.
Okay. Friday, welcome back. And what rating would you give this, and would you recommend it to anybody?
I recommended it before I even saw it. Again, please go find our Facebook group. 7.
7. Okay.
I didn't hate it. It was kind of enjoyable for a camping movie.
Okay. All right. Chaos, same question.
Back to what I said at the beginning of this, I was of two minds about this movie. One side, as a horror slasher, it's like a 1.5, maybe 2. But as a comedy slasher, it's about 6, 7.
Okay. Would you recommend it?
Yeah. It's not
Okay.
a bad movie.
All right. Raz, what rating would you give this, and would you recommend this?
I mean, the truth is, this is a classic, a cult classic series that's really important to a lot of people. We talked about that with Troll the last time I was around. But this is a very known and very important series. And in some ways, it has just as big a following as Friday and Nightmare. Honestly, it really, truly does. I give it a 7. And a large reason for that rating is, like I explained before, the acting that Pamela did for Angela, honestly. Like, that's why it earned what it did. And when I say it's a background movie, it is, but after you've seen it a couple times and you know it so well, you don't have to look at it when it's on. You just hear a piece of dialogue and you just know where it's at, kind of a background thing. But and I highly recommend it, man. I recommend this series to anyone I know that's not seen it frequently.
Okay. Ron, what is your rating of this, and would you recommend it to others?
I think that this sequel was marginally better than the original movie. I scored the original movie a 4 because I didn't think that the original movie was better than House of the Dead. So far, House of the Dead has been kind of my measuring stick for how I'm rating movies. But to put this one at a 5 to make it equal with House of the Dead, I still have to say that I enjoyed House of the Dead more, which makes me want to rate it a 6 so I can give this the 5 and start using it as my measuring stick for future movies. I just don't think that I can give it as high as a 7 because I am a diehard Friday the 13th fan, and those rate really high on my personal scale of slasher movies. And this is nowhere near that. So I would say it's a pretty good solid 5. And as far as recommending it, I would only recommend it if you're gonna do a back-to-back-to-back marathon of Sleepaway Camp. Just get 1, 2, and 3. Pull out your popcorn, get out your alcohol, set up your drinking games, get all your friends over. You're gonna do it upright and just shoot all 3 of them at the same time. Just do them back-to-back-to-back. Make a full night of it, and that's how I would recommend it.
Okay. I totally agree with that. And I've done that a couple of times with a couple of people. They no longer are my friends. But as for me, I was going to start out by giving this a 5 out of 10. But during this discussion, I've kind of bumped it up to a 6. Now, this is a needless sequel that added really nothing to the story of Angela other than being a mindless 80-minute beer and pizza horror flick, though it wasn't as painful as I remember, and I did enjoy quite a bit more than I did initially 20 years ago. Would I recommend this? Yes, mostly to friends that I know would revel in the MST3K approach to watching movies. Make it a lot more fun. And
absolutely,
of course, beer and pizza. But before we and lots of boobs. But you went that away. But it's cold out tonight. But before we get to what we're going to be teased with next time,
boobs.
Did you know that? Hopefully boobs, yes. Snack trays, I like to call them. But did you know that we're all in a book? We've all been published. The Elliott Menagerie. It's out now. For the price of coffee at Starbucks, you can get this and be entertained for hours. There's some great stories, and even I'm in there. So, they, have a bit of a bit of a bell curve for some of the authors, myself, and everything that you pay for this, and everything that all the proceeds go to pro literacy, because every adult has the right to literacy.
I want to point out something. I got a really cool picture I want to share with you guys. Our book was actually in a pretty major convention.
Mm-hmm.
This was it at was it Nikon?
Yeah.
Steven Simpson actually saw this on a table. Our book's right there in the middle row, far right, if you guys are looking for it at home. But to see the fact that our book was actually at a convention, if you look, there's more than one copy on that table. There's at least two, which means there's probably some underneath the table. But like, I've never been a part of a book that was at a convention that wasn't one of mine that I was selling. Like, so to have this representation, dude, like that like really, I don't know, that made my whole fucking month. I'm gonna be honest, man. And thank you, Steve, for sharing that with us, man. Like that was so cool that you shared that.
I wonder how many copies sold.
Steve's also
Well, there were taller stacks of other ones, so it looks like ours had gone down a little bit, you know?
Yeah. When they do that, they usually bring, the same amount of copies for all the books. So it's all like, even and stuff. But I mean, it looked like it sold. And the fact that it was there, none of us were there, but Steve was there. It wasn't even in the booth he was at, but he saw it. Like, it was so fucking cool, man.
That's cool.
I wonder if you offered to sign it for them.
That would be awesome.
Would have been very cool. Like, I'm in that.
Yeah. Okay. So, are we ready for the Wheel of the Terrible? What are we going to be tortured with next week? Let's find out.
Sleepaway Camp 3.
No,
I didn't put it on the screen. I refused.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Is everybody ready?
Indeed.
Yes.
One,
Dead CGI shark.
3. Whee! Let's see what we get. Oh, James is gonna be happy. James is gonna be happy.
Monos, the Hand of Fate.
Uncle NecRo's happy!
Yay! I love this one too, man.
I've seen this movie so many times, and there's not only an MST3K episode, but also a Riff Tracks live episode on this. I would so recommend either one of them. But if you can try to watch it, just raw back it. Try and do so. Is that another one that's on Tubi? Do we know?
It's on Plex.
I'm not sure.
It's on Plex.
Plex.
Okay. But I know the Riff Tracks and the MST3K episodes are on YouTube. So
actually, it looks like the Mystery Science Theater and the Riff Tracks one are both on Tubi.
It is the regular one is Tubi. Yes.
I see 3 different Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater ones, and the sequel, Manos Returns, is also on there.
There's a sequel?
Yeah, it came out in 2018.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
You really didn't know about it? Yeah.
I'm going to be on that like white on rice.
Yeah.
So anyway, oh wow, where can we find you, Del?
Go to Carrie Kari Sanders on Facebook. If you see this, you are seeing me, and I can't see if it's on screen. There we go. That crow is me. You can find all of my other links. You can find my author page. You can find my Owlite stuff. When I'm not hanging out with the Owlite folks, I am over on Splash Pages, also on the Dorkening, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. This week, we are going to be interviewing artist Russ Braun, who did a lot of work on The Boys and some other stuff with Garth Ennis, and some great stuff on his own. Looking forward to it. Rereading all of the Battlefield's The Night Witches books that he did for our reading. But come and ask any questions you would like them. And yeah, if you Delphine's there, and as for Carrie Sanders, look it up, and you'll most likely get a reply, if not from me, from Jenny over here, because she's good at social networking and I am not.
Okay. Friday, where can we find you when you appear?
I'm pretending to be 2 people on the screen and myself. So Owlite, Faycore, and Friday with the Library in the Blue Box, and Jennifer Elliott author page.
Okay. Chaos, where can we find you?
Find her, and if anyone ever stumbles across my Facebook page, if you get implied by anything, it's her.
Okay.
Absolutely do nothing on my Facebook for myself.
Nice.
So
Okay.
it's always her.
All right. Cool. Dr. Raz, where can we find you?
You can find me at raztslasher.com or pretty much anywhere on all your favorite social medias where you'll be speaking to the #1 Raz cosplayer in the world, Jenny. Yay. Otherwise, you can't really find me much of anywhere these days because I don't even know where I'm at or where I'm going to be anymore. Going through some crazy shit, but hopefully I'll be able to get things back on track pretty soon. But there's something I want to leave you with if I can find it. You know, just a monster. Just a monster. And I'm giving moms a break for a little bit. You know, moms need to rest. So I'm kind of, I'm chilling out, getting the syrup ready for the pancakes when the time comes.
Nice. Okay. Ron, where can we find you?
As usual, you can find me on my author page on Facebook, Ronald W Gillespie Jr. -author. And you can also find me on TikTok at Wolf Dojo, WULFDOJO. I am a martial artist by trade, and I sometimes, occasionally, maybe very not frequently put up martial arts related content if you're into that sort of thing. Otherwise, get in touch with Jenny over here, and she can probably forward your messages to me if you can't find me anywhere else. And other than that, I'm waiting for Raz to put out the pancakes, so I'll meet you at your mom's house.
Yep.
All right. And I am your humble servant, Uncle NecRo. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Various blogs, a couple of other podcasts outside of the Owl Like Network. And recently, Del and I were both interviewed on Friday's podcast yesterday. So you can find that on YouTube and anywhere else you can stream our shows. Otherwise, I'm going to just say thank you for watching and seek help.
Bye, everybody.
Oops.
Oops.